We are closely monitoring the fast-moving situation in the Middle East as Iran and Israel continue to exchange fire. Let's begin with the latest from Israel. Journalist Trent Murray joins us now from Tel Aviv. Trent, what transpired since that initial barrage of missiles launched by Iran last night?
Good morning, Marianne. Well, we do have the official assessment, which has been released in the past 20 minutes or so by the IDF, analysing exactly what has occurred. Now, they have said over 200 ballistic missiles were fired into Israel. They say around 50 of them were not intercepted, but that was in line with procedure because they fell in open areas. But we do know that there were a small number, in the words of the IDF, that did manage to penetrate the defence array. I think we have some pictures here we can show you of one of those strikes, those direct impacts. That is in the southern suburbs of Tel Aviv, about 15 minutes south of where I am right now. It's not just there where we're seeing significant destruction in residential areas. We do know that an apartment building right in the heart of the city was also struck, very close to the country's Ministry of Defence headquarters, and also in the eastern suburbs of the city. Now, what the IDF is saying is that its initial assessment right now is that the injuries, the 80 or so people that were injured overnight, were people that were not inside of their bomb shelters. They are saying everybody that took shelter seemed to have been able to avoid being injured. I think we have one story from overnight of one resident explaining the difference a shelter can make in an apartment block.
We heard the siren. We were lucky to run to the shelter. We were sitting in the shelter, and then we heard such a boom. It was awful. We were sure that the missile hit our building. We had, of course, to wait until we were allowed to go out.
So first responders have spent much of the day at several of those sites, combing through the debris, making sure that there's nobody else that is buried in there. It seems right now that they are being all treated, those injuries, in nearby hospitals. But we are hearing at some of those hospitals now they are preparing to move some of their medical care underground into the underground parking lots in order to make sure that patients aren't at risk if there are further strikes in the coming hours on the surface, of course, in those main hospital buildings.
Israel preparing in the coming days?
That's right. I mean, what we know is that the Israelis are expecting that there could be additional retaliation, particularly as nighttime falls here. Certainly in previous skirmishes that we've seen, it is generally at nighttime that Iran will fire ballistic missiles. We are being told that the state of emergency is still in place, and people are being told to make sure that they are near their cell phone and following the latest advice, close to their shelter. Obviously, we are also being told that all of the reservists from the country's home command service have been called up and are on standby to assist if there are additional strikes. We've once again seen some long lines at grocery stores, people stocking up on things like candles, batteries, bottled water. Those subway stations do remain open as public shelters for folks that don't have a shelter in their own apartment building. But on the travel front, we do know that Israel still does remain closed. The airspace over this country is shut right now. Ben Gurion International Airport is also saying it will remain closed over the coming days, as almost all airlines here removed their aircraft from that airport in the past 24 hours and have relocated them as a safety precaution in neighbouring countries like Greece and Cyprus.
Thanks so much for this, Trent. That's journalist Trent Murray in Tel Aviv. The Israeli military says it is still conducting operations in Iran. The military says it has hit 2 nuclear sites so far, and it claims to have significantly damaged them. Anna Cunningham is tracking the latest details from our London bureau this morning. So far, Anna, what details have come out so far?
Well, look, Marianne, all the indications at the moment from Israel are that this is just the start of its campaign in Iran. These images we have had from the Iranian capital, Tehran, today. Now, you can see they appear to show a building. We're told it was a residential block hit in an Israeli airstrike. Israel, we know, has been targeting Iran's nuclear and military facilities. It's also killed a number of high-ranking military personnel, and Iran confirming today that the number of top Iranian nuclear scientists killed is 9. Let's just show you some images from overnight of Iran's air defences in action in Tehran. Now, given the number of targets that Israel appears to have hit, those defences are limited against the barrage of missiles and drones Israel is using. And interestingly, Israel is now claiming it's weakened Iran's air defences. An Israeli military spokesperson claiming today that it's secured the airspace from western Iran to the capital, Tehran, after 70 fighter jets carried out strikes there. At the moment, there's been no response from Iran to that claim. We do know, though, that Iranian state TVs claiming that a residential complex in the capital was hit. They say 60 people were killed, including 20 children, but those are numbers that we just can't verify. It's not just the capital that Israel's targeted. We have a map that we can bring up and show you of the key locations. You can see just how many nuclear sites Israel is looking to target. It's significantly damaged, it claims, Isfahan and Natanz. But it is unclear if Israel's targeted Iran's fuel stockpile. International inspectors say that is located in a complex near Isfahan. In terms of the Iranian reaction, Marianne, to the Israeli strikes, take a listen to these words from Iran's UN ambassador. He was speaking at an emergency UN Security Council meeting in New York late Friday.
Deliberate and systematic killing were not only illegal, but inhuman, a chilling display of calculated aggression. These atrocities constitute clear act of state terrorism and flagrant violation of international law.
Now, Marianne, those words echoing what we've already heard on Friday from Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Now, what do we know about the 6th round of nuclear negotiations between Iran and the U.S. that were supposed to happen tomorrow?
Well, the Iranian Foreign Ministry has said today it would be meaningless to join nuclear negotiations with the United States in Oman while Iran is under attack by Israel. In fact, Iran's state media just quoting the Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi saying continuing Iran-US nuclear talks is unjustifiable, while he says barbarous Israeli attacks are underway. We know that those talks have gone on for a number of weeks. There was talk about progress being made. They were held in Oman, and also there was one meeting in Italy. But it does seem unlikely that they will go ahead now, and unlikely that Iran will come to the table on Sunday in Oman. Just one other note worth taking a look at, really, is that Iran is warning today the US, UK and France that its bases and ships in the region will be targeted if those countries help stop Tehran's strikes on Israel. Marianne.
That's Anna Cunningham reporting in London. Thanks, Anna. To get a clearer understanding of the conflict and why Israel chose this moment to reignite its fight with Iran, we spoke with Daniel Byman. He is a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
So this has been brewing for a while. We've seen Israeli threats. We've seen states pull out dependent personnel in Iraq and Bahrain. So the actual attacks were not a surprise. But that said, this tension has been really ongoing for almost 20 years. And then, of course, it accelerated after October 7th. So it's really a question of not just was it going to happen, but why now in particular.
Let's talk more about the timing then. Why now? From your perspective, why did Israel decide that now would be the time to reignite this conflict?
I would say 3 reasons. First, and I really want to stress this, there is genuine concern in the Israeli political echelons and security echelons about an Iranian nuclear weapon. They see this as an existential threat. Iran has made its hostility to Israel clear, and understandably, Israel does not want Iran to go nuclear. Iran has also steadily moved closer and closer to the line of nuclearization, enriching uranium at Before the strikes, the International Atomic Energy Agency had condemned Iran. So Iran was moving in the wrong direction. But there are also two other reasons that are less strategic. One was that the Trump administration was making progress on negotiations, which Israel thought was a bad idea. And now these negotiations are blown out of the water. And the last is domestic politics in Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu has a coalition that is very fractious, and he doesn't want to be known as the prime minister who allowed the October 7th attacks to happen on his watch. He wants to be known as the prime minister who halted and defeated Iran, Israel's biggest enemy, as Israel starts to enter election season.
Daniel Byman is a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, and we reached him in Washington, D.C.